I'll admit it. He's going to win it, and I'm not sure it's going to be all that close. It doesn't actually mean that he's the best quarterback, but in terms of value, I find it really hard to find anybody who's provided more value and energy and attention in a positive sense than what Lamar Jackson has done to the Baltimore Ravens. 5 touchdown passes last night. They ran it, they threw it, they completely and totally obliterated the LA Rams. Obliterated the LA Rams. He continues to say and do all the right things. Asked about the MVP after the game, and he said, I'm just trying to win a Super Bowl. Wow. There's the clip of John Harbaugh talking about how you're going to change the position, and he said, I just want my team to win. It's possible he's Mike Vick with work ethic. It's possible he's Mike Vick without hangers-on who bring him down. It's possible that he's a faster, better version, though smaller, than Cam Newton. But I would warn you, we have seen this before. Cam Newton was the MVP of the league. Right? Cam Newton was the most valuable player in the National Football League, and this is just going back 4 years ago. Here's the eerie similarities. Eerie similarities. In 2015, the Carolina Panthers were second in rush yards, first in rushing. The 2019 Ravens, first in rush yards and touchdowns. The 2019 Panthers are first in points per game. The 2015 Panthers, first in points per game. The 2019 Ravens, second in red zone offense. 2015 Panthers, second in red zone offense. The Ravens were 19th in passing. The Panthers were 24th in passing. Now, Lamar Jackson has completed a higher percentage of his balls, 67 to 59, but both throwing about 8 yards per attempt. Lamar's 24 TDs, 5 interceptions, and the MVP year, Cam Newton, 35 and 10. Cam Newton, 10 rushing TDs that year. Lamar Jackson on pace for that with 6 already. Lamar Jackson averaging 27 pass attempts per game, Cam Newton 30 during the 2015 campaign. 11 rush attempts per game for Lamar Jackson, 8 rush attempts per game for Cam Newton. The numbers weren't stunning, right? 169, 5 touchdowns, 95 yards rushing. That's because the defense just completely choked off any hope for the LA Rams. And that's because the defense is 5th in points per game, 5th in interceptions, tied for 4th in turnover margin, and 5th lowest time per drive. You want to know something interesting? The 2015 Panthers, 6th in points per game, 1st in interceptions, 1st in turnover margin, 1st in lowest time per drive in the National Football League. In other words, their team's built on kicking game, defense, running the football, and their quarterback is playing at an exceptionally high level, in addition to the fact that the defense and special teams is putting them in prime position, and the running game is leaving it so that they're not doing 2nd and 3rd and long. We have seen this before. And though I made a mistake, Mike Vick wasn't an MVP, we've seen him dominate the league before. We've seen Vince Young. We've seen Tim Tebow. We've seen Deshaun Watson before he tore his ACL. We've seen RG3 in a similar type of offense. Now, I want to point this out. Okay, I don't think he has the off-the-field flaws of Mike Vick. And Mike Vick, he has said this many times over, so I'm not making this up. He has said, I didn't work at it. And Lamar clearly has worked at it. Lamar's what Mike Vick probably could have been. And maybe even better. Right? And Cam Newton, of course, though he worked at it, right? Cam Newton's also somebody who was injury prone. And to this point, Lamar Jackson hasn't been hurt. That's the big question is when people start to figure it out. The big question is, will he get hit? Will he get hurt? And over a 15 to 20 game stretch, so far, he's been dynamic. Now, to the Baltimore Ravens fans who think we all missed it, I'll only point out you booed him off the field last year during the playoff game they lost to the Chargers. We didn't. You did. I would say the guy who should be the most bent out of shape, the guy who should be most upset is Colin Kaepernick today, because that could have been him. The Ravens wanted to sign him, wanted to talk to him. His girlfriend sent out a meme, which likened the owner of the Ravens to the slave owner in Django Unchained. The offensive coordinator then is the same offensive coordinator now, Greg Roman, who was his offensive coordinator with the with the Niners. By the way, we've seen this before then. And remember, people caught up to it. And Kaepernick got hurt. Vince Young was brought down by his own lack of work ethic, the off-the-field issues. Mike Vick was brought down by lack of work ethic, off-the-field issues, inaccuracy as a quarterback. Cam Newton, injuries and inaccuracy. So we've seen this before. The only difference today is, I'll admit, that guy's taking the league by storm. And I have if this is a one-hit wonder and this is the only year in which he wins an MVP, I still don't think any less of him. This is what I think of one-hit wonders in music. At least they had one hit. That's one more hit than 99% of the bands and musicians out there. But we have been waiting for 25, 30 years, and really the last 15 years, where this type of offense, kind of a combination of zone read, triple option, and quarterbacks that can run and throw, would make it and stick in the NFL. Guys have made it before. They have been unable to stick for a myriad of reasons. This may be the best chance because this is arguably the best franchise and the most cohesive franchise. And when the Niners had it, they didn't fully commit to this style. They tried to make Kaepernick into more of a true pocket passer. And there was Trent Baalke and Jim Harbaugh, and they couldn't get along. You have John Harbaugh, Greg Roman, a new general manager, and everyone seems to be pulling in the right direction, along with a defense which is fully committed to a quarterback who's fully committed to not being a superstar, not being, as Cam Newton would point out, some sort of fashionista and icon. Remember, Cam Newton said he wanted to be bigger than football. Lamar Jackson's never said any of that. He just wants to win and be a part of a great team. But we've seen it before with Cam, and injuries ultimately brought him down. I would point out that in addition to the dysfunction between the front office and coaching staff and his own inability to relate to teammates, right? The real reason Colin Kaepernick, remember, was benched was he wasn't playing well, he was injured, and he couldn't relate to teammates. That's not this dude. This guy is one that's beloved by his teammates. It's the best possible chance of it working, and it's absolutely working right now. Long term, we'll see. We'll see. It's really hard to last in this league because generally you don't get faster, everyone else does. But I will admit, when I'm wrong, and though I could point out that, what are the Seahawks without Russell Wilson? Right? I actually think the Ravens are a hell of a football team. Good defense, good running game, good special teams, well coached. Do I think they're the best or second best team in the NFL without Lamar Jackson? I do not. But it's still a good team. I'm not sure the Seahawks are a particularly good team without Russell Wilson. I'm not sure the Packers we've seen the Packers in the past without Aaron Rodgers. Need I say more? So if we're trying to establish true value. But over the past 4 games against 4 teams with winning records, they've won by 104 combined points. They're kicking everybody's ass and taking names. And he's the biggest reason why. And so I'll admit when I'm wrong, didn't think he was going to be the MVP going back a couple weeks ago. Now I do. And is it fair to question the longevity of the success? Absolutely. Why? Because we use history as our guide. But man, however long this lasts, pretty fun to watch, isn't it? Unless you're a Rams fan. That was not fun if you're a Rams fan. Not fun. Because they just went down. They're down 14-0. You look up and you're like, wait, it's 14-0? And the key to beating them is making them play from behind, making them play behind the chains, and the Rams could do nothing. Felt completely and totally feeble. What's fascinating about the Rams What makes you great? Maybe here's even better comparison. There was a time when NASCAR and the NHL were on fire. You guys remember that? NASCAR was on fire. And they expanded. And they have the race in California, which is really like, it's Fontana, okay? Which is, Fontana is inland. People think of LA. It's not anywhere near Hollywood. It's not, Hollywood types would come out, but they expanded, and they're in Phoenix and they're in here and they're in there. And this is what happened with the NHL. They went to Atlanta. They went to Phoenix. Wayne Gretzky went to LA. They took the Minnesota North Stars and put them in Dallas and they became the Dallas Stars. Do you guys remember this? This is like 90s into early 2000s, but 90s. Those sports were on fire. The NFL was not. The NFL actually left Los Angeles. 2 different teams left. What's the core of what makes the NHL great? They have an unbelievably fervent fan base in New York, Boston, Philly, Detroit, and in Canada. Right? That's the core of who they are. In NASCAR, the core of who they are is the South. Parts of the Midwest, but in the South. It literally started, like Daytona literally started them racing on the beach with like bootleg cars that were just put together. Like that's how it started. Races like Talladega, races like Bristol Motor Speedway under the lights. And what happened was they got away from the core of what made them special. And we all do this in all sports and all businesses because you want to expand, have a more diverse portfolio. You get tapped out in terms of how much money you can make from that certain market. Right? The NFL now obviously is trying to play in London. They want to play in China. They want to play in Mexico. Why? We're kind of tapped out here. But you gotta remain true to your core fans. Right? The NFL found this out. You start having too many windows and too many games, like waters down the product. The Rams. What made the Rams great? Awesome offensive line. Great running game. Jared Goff was much more comfortable using play action. And they had been developed over and kind of like the Niners, where they were always held back by quarterback play and maybe coaching, but you draft that high in the draft, you do pretty well, and you draft in the interior lineman for enough time, you're going to build up a really, really good set of talent. And the Rams were always a quarterback away and an offensive mind away. Last year, they had the offensive mind, which helped develop the quarterback, and they went to a Super Bowl. Then they let Roger Saffold walk in free agency. He's with the Titans. They let John Sullivan walk in free agency. He's still a free agent, so they think he's washed. Andrew Whitworth considered retirement, and he's been playing like a guy who probably should have retired. Really good player. Had some left when he left Cincinnati, and now he's kind of done. And they replaced him with rookies that they drafted. Right? Because they couldn't afford to go and get legit dudes or to keep legit dudes. So now they can't run the ball. They get one of the lowest graded offensive line in the NFL, and Jared Goff, because he can't play action, has suffered because of it. In November, 5 interceptions, no touchdowns. He doesn't look comfortable. And of course, they overinvested in Jared Goff. Which, look, if you think you have a franchise quarterback and you can get him at $30 million a year, you get cost certainty, you don't have to worry about it. Most GMs are like, yeah, I'll take it, it's fine. But between getting arguably the best defensive lineman in football, overpaying for a wide receiver, overpaying for a running back, overpaying for a quarterback, you put so many of your resources in those 4 baskets that there's not enough left spread around, and they got away from their core business, which was running the football, playing behind a monstrous offensive line. Play action was the benefit of it. Rams were great. Now they're not, because they got away from their core. That happened to the NHL, right? And what did the NHL do? Atlanta went away. They went back. Now they're back in Winnipeg. They spend more time paying more attention to their core audience. Remember they had the long lockout and they changed the salary structure or whatever? You know what, though? Long-term growth. Though it doesn't spike like the NBA contracts, NHL's a very, very healthy business. Hi, I'm Doug Gottlieb from Fox Sports Radio, and you need to subscribe to the Fox Sports Radio YouTube channel where you can hear and see me. Why not? Plus everybody else who's awesome here on Fox Sports Radio.